Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Ask Dr. Mumbi. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms. It's going to become a luxury soon, if already it isn't a luxury. And living life on your own terms means living life on your own mental terms, in your own story, having done your own research, having done your own, figuring out what the truth is for you and living out that truth, living your life based on that truth, not waiting to live your life based on that truth tomorrow, but starting to shift and adjust your life based on the truth that you had, because the show is over, beloveds. Babylon has fallen, and we are all now preparing for the next great act. But many don't know, because they're so connected to Babylon and their story within the Babylon system, because the Babylon story is their story. They literally can't even fathom or imagine that Babylon has fallen, that the show is over, and so the show is going on. It reminds me of the Titanic. But, I keep getting asked this question in many ways. What is the key recommendation I'd be making to people at such a time as this, with everything that's going on, with the lockdowns, with the totalitarianism that is being brought down on so many different countries, with us seeing the true face of our governments and the fact that, they are well on their way to trying to implement their new world order. And with everything that's happening, I think my one key advice, beloveds, and this may seem really trivial when there's so much to be done right now. People should be preparing for the food shortages and the engineered famine. So stocking up on food, stocking up on water, stocking up on any essentials that you usually need. Apart from those, apart from spending as much time, disconnecting from the Babylon system in any way, in any and all ways. And that means removing yourself from the matrix, the patrix, from the education systems, from the economic systems, because this is what they're getting ready to collapse and re-engineer in order to control people in a new way, the ones that bow to that system. And because they control the media, also getting away from that noise, because that's what it is. It's propaganda noise that really has a lot of people, so hooked. And so it's driving your emotions, and your emotions are so powerful, beloveds. Your emotions can pull realities into your experience. They can pull people and things into your experience. But we're almost using them wrong, beloveds, by allowing others to toy with our emotions. Whether it's through entertainment, where you enter something and that you're contained and you're harvested of your energy, or whether it's media where they're constantly fear-mongering, all of these things. So disconnecting means watch less TV, participate less in the Babylon system, disconnect yourself from the sports, the movies, etc., etc. Don't allow them to put you in a containment situation in the name of entertainment, beloveds. It's absolutely critical. And excuse the construction that's going on in the background. It's absolutely critical. And so, these are just some of the things, but I think the one thing that will prove to be like a survival tactic, a survivalist skill, is to be less emotionally involved in everything that's going on. Like, the most important thing you could be doing right now is preparing your heart and your mind. And when I say be less emotionally involved, it is so important, because your emotions are fueling the Babylon system, literally. And you need all of that energy for yourself. I mean, we all know emotions are energy in motion. It's a thought that we push somewhere because it enters our heart, and then our heart fully goes into it, and that gives it life and pushes it somewhere. And so there's so much wasted energy daily. If you think, some of us have the power of nuclear power stations, beloveds. but so much of that energy is just being siphoned off, and and it's being siphoned off through the gateway of emotion, primarily. Because you see, instead of knowing that we create the experience, Babylon has worked so hard to make us believe we are the experience. And there's a whole different level to whether you see your life as you creating the experience or whether you see your life as you being your experience. It's two different dimensions of operation. And so that's why they've emotionally hooked us to their world where we think we are their world. Because if we knew that we were the creators of it, we would change it in a twinkle of an eye. If we understood how it works, the power of the group mind and the group consciousness, and how all of us have to be on board to create the new reality, because it's all about consensus. You see, they've created democracy, but democracy isn't how nature works. Democracy isn't how the world works, beloved. The world works on consensus. What the huge majority are conceding to becomes reality. And knowing that there's a few men behind the scenes who manipulate that. But anyway, I'm even diverting. So the most important thing is to get a handle on your emotions, because we're about to witness so many things, beloveds. Many will be heartbreaking things. And so you have to start seeing yourself as the creator of your experience and the creator of what you're going through right now, of this life journey, so that you don't get caught up. Because a lot of people will fall, not because they don't have the courage to stand, but because they fall out emotionally, where they can't handle the death and destruction that they're seeing around them. The zombie apocalypse, their family members turning into zombies. These are real things that are going to happen. And so you have to prepare yourself emotionally. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to Ask Dr. Mumbi. My name is Dr. Mumbi Seraki. Special shout out to everyone that supports us on Patreon. We do share more information on there. And thanks to everyone that has subscribed to this channel. By the way, this is our second channel. We do have an original channel called Dr. Mumbi Show. We stopped it when Babylon fell, because it then became redundant and irrelevant to report the news in the way that we were doing. So we are going to definitely be revamping that show, and we'll be telling you what's going on there. Although we have released a show that you should definitely check out. A few shows on there, like major shows that we can't release here because of censorship, etc., etc. Long story about that channel, but those are definitely stories for other days. So what is the biggest survival skill you can have right now? It's emotional tenacity, beloveds. It's mental strength. It's nothing physical. Because the physical, okay, you can stock up on food, but what if, the food that you've stocked up on runs out? You'll still end up back in the Babylon system. So the most important thing is to strengthen your mind and your emotions. And the emotions is what has gotten many of us in the predicaments that we're in. Being over emotional, beloveds. And especially for what is coming, that over emotion will see you, it will make you, it will predispose you to many negative things potentially happening in your life. Like, I remember I was reading a tweet the other day, and this broke my heart, where, this lady died of, what they're saying people are dying of. And her son found out, and her son had been living in the States for over 20 years, hadn't visited home, etc., etc. And the minute he was told by phone, your mom is no more, he keeled over and had a heart attack and died and left his young children. You see, that shows a lack of emotional and mental and psychological preparation. May their souls rest in power. But that's what it shows. And it's those weaknesses that will get many taken out. It's not so much all these things that Babylon has planned, because you're a spiritual, mental being having this, this physical experience. So as long as you stand firm on certain things, you will overcome. But Babylon is not playing fair, beloveds. Babylon is not playing fair. So they're going to trick you up with your emotions. That's the battlefield. The emotional plane is the battlefield, and what they're contesting for is your mind through your emotions. And so, because I know there's all kinds of people who watch this, people who have the finances and are doing the necessary, or have the finances and doing nothing, have the finances and doing something, people who are off grid, people who are on grid, people who have no choice but to be where they are, so there's many levels, like, but if you should be preparing to your ability to prepare with whatever resources you have. You should be preparing for the fall, the total collapse of Babylon, and how that will impact us even here in Africa. There's different levels of preparations, and I've done shows on that. But you should also be doing the mental and emotional preparation and helping your children to do the same. Because people are going to have to be brave. And there are, and there's so, you can only really be fully prepared when you can't really prepare for some of these tragedies that are getting ready to unfold. But and sometimes, like, the spirit will just naturally kick in, but you need to really change the narrative, beloveds. How you see this world, how do you describe this world to yourself? And that's why when you buck at things like reincarnation and the fact that you've been here several times, when you react negatively to to different spiritual, stories that are true, but you've been taught that they're false, that doesn't limit the messenger. It just limits your potential. And you see, you've been so the greatest liability for many of our brothers and sisters is the religious psychosis. That's where the whole confusion starts. And it's been plugged in emotionally. And so to break an emotional hook is absolutely, it's one of the hardest things to do. And many, former Christians or whatever who have graduated to the next level have contacted me and said, it's so hard to break that programming, that guilt programming, that I'm a sinner programming, that I'm gonna rot in hell because, I'm questioning the story of Jesus. I'm questioning my God, like my God isn't strong enough. Like, that is the hardest thing. And the chains are mental, beloveds. Because you see, so much concentration and attention has been given to this body when the body doesn't really have any power. It's the mind and the spirit that is directing and moving the body. And so if you start to look at life from that perspective, then even your most intimate relationships, you'll start to look at them with the right perspective. Because you see, so many families, some family members have chosen A, some family members have chosen B. And the ones who have chosen B may have all the knowledge and they know why they did it. And the ones who chose A may have chosen it because out of fear, out of propaganda and fear mongering, or out of, the various obstacles that were created where, you had no option, so you thought. So it's time for everyone to have compassion. For us to have compassion for those the ignorant ones among us, sorry to say that. And to also not be so emotionally invested in other people's choices. Because people will do what they want to do. And you may have a whole conversation with them in public, and in private, they'll still do what they want to do, beloveds. And that's why I'm saying, like, the biggest survival skill you can have right now is to put your emotions in the right perspective, get a handle of your emotions. Don't allow anyone to, manipulate those emotions. And prepare. I don't even know how you prepare for some of the things that are coming. But how you'll get through them is through logically, think, speaking to yourself, logically deducing, those situations and those circumstances, because we are at war. We are in World War III. Whether just because you don't see the guns and the bombs doesn't mean they haven't been dropped on the people. And there will be casualties of this war. And for those of us who have taken a certain stance, we have to be strong enough. I know many are willing to be casualties for their stance, for their freedom. But we also have to be willing to be strong enough to not allow ourselves to be overwhelmed by some of the events that unfold in our own personal, and they're already unfolding, beloveds. And my deepest condolences to many who have lost their, who have lost their family to this war, whether they knew it was a war or not. My deepest, deepest condolences. But you see, in that, like, everything has been weaponized, even the death of family members, beloveds. So get a handle on your emotions. And if you have any ideas on how people can do that, please leave it in the comments below. Until next time, tuko pamoja.